There are 6 big mistakes leaders make when driving change, and today I'm going to unpack each one, and I'm also going to highlight what you can do to avoid them. Let's dive in. If your business isn't changing, it's probably not growing. That's just a cold reality. See, leaders within every growing company have the ongoing challenge of leading others through change. Some leaders do this really well, others do not. Today, I'm going to highlight the top mistake leaders make when driving change, why, so you can avoid them. The first mistake leaders make when driving change is a lack of clear and concise communication. The faster things change, you know what? The more often you're going to need to communicate. Don't keep your team in the dark. Pull those affected by the change together and make it really clear. Here's what's changing and why. Most leaders fail to explain why. Don't make that mistake. Take the time to articulate why you are making the change and what it means to those involved. Highlight the positive. Talk about timing. Outline the critical steps forward. You also have to highlight what's staying the same. Don't assume it's obvious. See, people want to also know what's not changing. Create a forum for questions. Remind yourself that you've been marinating about this change a lot more than other people. Many are, in fact, hearing it for the first time, and they too need time to process it. Many leaders destroy trust during times of change. To me, I believe change is an opportunity for leaders to build trust if you communicate effectively. The second mistake leaders make when driving change is waiting for what I call the big reveal. They wait to disclose their plans until every I is dotted and every T is crossed. And then when they finally make their big announcement, you know what? The change doesn't get the response they had anticipated. Instead, they begin to receive critical comments they hadn't predicted, which makes them defensive. Here's my advice. MVP, minimal viable product. What is the minimal viable product you can produce at this time to get the change initiated? See, change is about progress, not perfection. You have to create momentum. Avoid the big reveal. Okay, the third mistake leaders make when driving change happens when your team begins executing on the change. People start blaming other people. See, once everybody gets into implementing the change, things are going to get messy. Questions are going to arise. Processes that once work need to be updated. Job boundaries begin to get blurred. Transition meetings become the norm. And something is bound to fall through the cracks. And when they do, the blame game starts. As leaders, we have to make it a best practice to ask our team to challenge the status quo. And when they do, don't assume the worst. Here's my advice. Assume positive intent. Don't take things personally. Change by design is bound to create some anxiety, bound to create some doubt, and bound to create some fear. Listen to the concerns that people are bringing forward. Acknowledge their frustrations. People just need to feel heard. Embrace their questions as a way to refine what your team is doing with the spirit of making things even better. The fourth mistake leaders make when driving change is they fail to coach their team through potential risk factors and potential obstacles that may emerge. Help your team elevate their thinking. Remember, change is not the problem, resistance to change is. Don't assume everybody knows what to do. And I'm not saying you have to outline every detail, but you do have a responsibility to guide them, to anticipate the unexpected and help them navigate around those anticipated obstacles. The fifth mistake leaders make when driving change is they fail to deliver on their commitments. Think about it. Many of them make promises that they never follow through on. Why? Because they're overzealous. They underestimate how long something is actually going to take. Here's my advice. Set realistic expectations and follow through on your commitments. If something emerges that delays your ability to deliver on what you promised, let others know as soon as possible. Don't wait to the last minute. I'm here to tell you, one missed commitment handled the wrong way will wipe out a whole line of good things you previously delivered on. The sixth biggest mistake leaders make when driving change is going it alone. Stop trying to be a hero. Help is available. Too many people think it's a weakness to ask for help. Nothing could be further from the truth. Asking for help is a strength. What makes asking for help so effective? You actually accelerate results. But just do me a favor, don't go through the motions of just asking questions. You gotta actively listen and reflect on the answers you receive. I see a lot of leaders asking questions and then ignoring the advice they get. I'm not saying you have to agree with and act on every piece of feedback, but you do have to take some time to reflect on it. Maybe you have a blind spot. How many times did someone say something to you and it wasn't exactly what they said that solved your problem, but instead they sparked an idea or thought that actually led you closer to the answer you were searching for? I bet a lot. See, change is hard. The closer you are to the situation, the harder it is for you to see alternative solutions. Solicit input from those you trust and take the time to reflect on what they share with you. Others can often bring a new perspective, or maybe ask a question in a certain way that sparks a fresh idea. Okay, those are the mistakes that most leaders make when driving change. Let me close by reversing the discussion and highlighting some of the advice I sprinkled in. Number one, over-communicate. The faster things change, the more often you need to articulate a clear and concise message. Number two, have an MVP mindset, minimal viable product. What is the minimal viable product you can produce at this time just to gain momentum? Number three, assume a positive intent. Embrace questions as a way to refine what your team is doing with the spirit of making things even better. Number four, brainstorm risk factors and teach your team how to effectively respond to change and navigate around anticipated obstacles. Number five, set realistic expectations and follow through on every commitment you make. And number six, ask for help. Solicit input and reflect on what is being shared. Oftentimes, others will bring a new perspective or maybe ask a question in a certain way that sparks a fresh idea. If you want more tools like the ones I shared today, I would love to buy you a copy of my book, Freedom to Experiment. How to ignite a new level of energy, focus, momentum in yourself and your team. Follow the link in the description and I'll personally sign a copy for you. If you want to elevate your leadership, right? Or explore ways that you could elevate your leadership, or maybe even develop and retain the leaders on your team, I also included a link to schedule some time on my calendar. I would love to help you and your team champion growth for your business. Okay, if you like some of the things I shared today, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, drop a comment below related to your business, and of course subscribe, because each week I'm sharing content to help you and your team embrace change, focus your efforts, and accelerate results. Remember this, you're just one idea away. I'll talk to you soon.